I have absolutely positively no intention or even a desire to hurt a narcissist, but if you protect yourself and defend yourself, inevitably what's going to happen is you're going to hurt the narcissist. Now, as you are doing this, and I encourage you not to have the intention of going out to purposely hurt this person because they hurt you. That's revenge. Effectively, what you are doing by doing that is you are doing what the narcissist does. You're trying to overcome evil with evil. We want to overcome evil with doing something good. Overcome bad with good. Now, what is good? Good is defending yourself. It is protecting yourself. That is the objective, taking care of yourself, not hurting somebody else. But unfortunately, the truth is, or maybe fortunately, when you defend yourself against the onslaught of narcissism, they're going to get hurt because that's just the way they are. Because they love to be in control. So there are several becauses there. But you are going to hurt them because you are defending yourselves because they want to be in control. So let's take a look at these 7 ways that narcissists are going to be hurt forever, never, never. Simply because you have the courage and character to defend yourself and your loved ones. Number 1, and all of these, by the way, involve taking control away from the narcissist. But number 1 is just walking away. Going gray rock, some people call it cold turkey because the narcissist is kind of addicted, to supply. By devaluing you, they take supply from you. Supply, as you know, is defined as fundamentally anything that enhances or inflates the narcissist ego. So when you abandon the narcissist, you're taking away his drug of choice. That is devaluing you, humiliating you, putting you down, hurting you, and elevating himself by comparison. They never actually elevate themselves. At least that's my opinion. So you take control just by walking away from these people. And when I say walk away, I know it's not always possible, but when possible. If there is an individual who is just absolutely positively toxic, and I can think of several people who are toxic, but I mean seriously toxic. I can only think of one person in the entire planet that I just won't be in the same room with this person, if at all possible. So you got to get away from them to defend yourself. If they get hurt, so what? Not the intention. Number 2 is you take control by ignoring them. So it's one thing to walk away from somebody, but it's something else to just totally ignore them. And it's kind of like you are pretending that they don't exist or that they never existed. Or maybe as if they have, they just don't matter, And quite frankly, a narcissist should not matter to you once you walk away from them. Because that's their whole thing. That's their whole objective, is to hurt you. So if you get away from them and they no longer matter, what happens is you have taken control away from the narcissist. How are they going to control you? We go back to the thing about the puppeteer and the puppet. So the puppet pulls off the little strings, that's, what do they call those? Marionettes or something like that. I don't know. But they take away the strings, the puppet pulls off the strings and just walks away. So the narcissist, the puppeteer, is no longer in control. I mean, what are they going to control? They don't have any strings. Well, they got the strings. They're just not attached. And now you're just ignoring them. They may call out to the puppet, using that analogy. They may call out to the puppet, say, hey, get back here. They may even chase after the puppet. That's kind of a strange thought, isn't it? So I guess we have to go to Geppetto or whatever. But, the puppet just ignores you, the victim of the narcissist. Just ignore them. Eventually, they're going to stop chasing you because they need supply, and if they can't get it from you, they're going to get it from someone else. And eventually, the narcissist is going to come to a point where he or she realizes that they just underestimated your resolve and underestimated, your resilience. They thought that you were low-hanging fruit, that you were an easy target, and that, by the way, is why they targeted you in the first place. They thought you were a person of character, And they wanted to suck some of that character out of you, figuratively speaking, obviously, and impute it to themselves. So by controlling you, the person of character, they obviously were a person of greater character. Just doesn't work that way, does it? So what has happened is they just didn't realize how strong you were. I mean, you could yank those, once you realized you were being bound by their strings, you just yanked them loose and walked away. They had no idea. What's more, now you are ignoring them. So you're sending this message to the narcissist. You are saying to him or her, you are insignificant. You mean absolutely, positively nothing to me whatsoever. That's kind of tough, right? It's kind of difficult to do for some people, but for me, when it's a matter of defending yourself, protecting your reputation, but also protecting your mental health, and in addition to that, those the loved ones around you, your family, your close friends. So what? You're insignificant. You say, well, that hurts the narcissist. Well, someone's going to get hurt. Someone already has been hurt. So what you were doing is you were taking the hurt that they imposed upon you, and you're just giving it back to them. You're just taking that pain and that awkwardness and that frustration and the stress and the anxiety, and by acting as though they are insignificant, because they are, you're just returning the shame. Returning the shame. In fact, you might want to write that down. Return the shame. It's not mine. I don't want it. I didn't ask for it. The narcissist imposed it upon you, upon me. We're just giving it back. That's it. So it's not my shame. It's his shame or her shame. We're just giving it back to him. So, I'm not to blame. They started it. Sounds like a child, right? But they did. Number 3 is, number 1, we said take control by walking away, take control by ignoring them, and number 3 is take control by staying away. Sometimes this is the hardest thing to do, because during that love bombing part of your relationship, when they were wooing you and pulling you in, back when they were grooming you, you had a perception of the narcissist that you thought was real. Perception, they say, is reality. So you had this perception. As far as you know, it was very real. This was a good guy, charismatic, friendly, somebody that you really cared about. You were very good friends, or maybe you were in love, you thought. And that is the image that is embedded in your mind. And it's not that easy to get rid of it. You can't just change your mind overnight. Okay, maybe some people can. I can't. I don't know anyone who can. So if you can, consider yourself privileged. But I don't know anybody that can do that. So you've got them away from you. But how do you stay away? Because permeated in your brain is this lingering notion that deep down inside, this is really a good person, which is the exact opposite of what is true. Deep down inside, this person is rotten to the core. Probably worse than you even experienced. But because we have that still embedded in our minds, we still have this lingering thought that, somewhere in the penumbrum of our thinking that, this is a good guy. I'm going to give him a second chance. I'm going to give her a second chance. So you do, and what happens is they just suck you back in, and the whole thing starts over again. So the key here, and this is probably the hardest part of what we're talking about, is take control by staying away. And when you do that, what happens is you will hurt the narcissist forever and ever. And that's not the intention, but that's the outcome. So number 4 is take control by forgetting them. Now, when we say forget, I'm not sure that's even possible. I mean, how do you forget somebody who has done that much damage to you? How do you forget them? How do you get them totally, completely out of your mind? I don't think you can. So you need to understand when I say forget these people, forget the narcissist, is don't be obsessed with them. Don't ruminate about the circumstances. You got to get that out of your head. How do you do that? well, you change your thinking. I mean, literally, if that thought comes into your mind, you become mad or angry or frustrated, or maybe you have those lingering thoughts. Maybe this is not as bad as I thought it was. Maybe I'm exaggerating. Okay, they're a loose cannon. Maybe they have they just don't have a filter. And you start making all these dumb excuses that just aren't true. And you're not forgetting them. You are obsessed with them. So what happens is eventually they're going to come back in your life, like we said a moment ago, do more damage. So we need to take control by forgetting them in the sense that we're no longer obsessed with them. It is as if we never knew them. Number 5 is this: take control by holding them accountable. Now, I'm not saying that you should engage in a smear campaign where you attack the narcissist and spread gossip and slander about him or her. But what I'm saying is, in your mind, you need to hold this person accountable for what he or she did. Because I know some people, they have this tendency to blame themselves when they had a bad experience. Now, sometimes you are to blame. Sometimes I'm to blame. I've had bad experiences with people, in my past nearly 7 years now, and I got to admit, I was kind of a jerk. Sometimes went over the top. And I've had to go back to people and, try to make things right. Sometimes I did make things right. So sometimes, we are to blame. But in the case of a narcissist, a covert narcissist, somebody who has intentionally, willfully set out to abuse you, to deceive you, you need to make sure that you understand that you're not to blame. This is the person. The only fault that you should have, that you hold to yourself, is that you are gullible and naive. At least that's my opinion. And that's something you can fix. That's something you can work on. But you are not to blame for the narcissist taking advantage of your gullibility. That is the narcissist's fault. He is actively looking for, think of a lion who is hungry, right? And they're out roaming around trying to find something to eat, and you are available. So there's a herd of gazelle, right? Gazelles. I don't know what the plural is, but there's a herd of gazelles. The lion is hungry, and which one is he going to grab? The weakest one, the one that's easiest to get a hold of. So the narcissist saw you as that gazelle, and they attacked. Just that simple. It's not your fault. It's not the gazelle's fault that the lion attacked him. So think of a narcissist as a lion who's hungry, running around trying to find something to eat, and you happen to be available. Not your fault whatsoever. So hold them accountable in your mind. Again, we're not talking about a smear campaign against the narcissist. We're talking about in your own mind. You need to reaffirm that you're not to blame for this. Now, you are accountable for getting yourself back on track. At least that's my opinion. You are accountable for holding the narcissist to blame. Again, that's my opinion. But you are not responsible for his or her attack on you. That's kind of a hard thing to get over because we do tend to blame ourselves. If only, we have all these if only statements. If only I had not been so gullible. If only, and you can change that in the future. If only I had not listened to this individual. If only I had paid more. And you have all these if only statements. All right, number 6 is this: expose their fantasies. So take control by exposing their fantasies. And again, this is not necessarily something you do to other people. Now, there are occasions where you may need to do this. But in your own mind, you need to consider that this is a person who lives in a fantasy world. They are actors on a stage, and you believe the character was the real person when it wasn't. But what happens with a narcissist is, and you don't even know what's happening, but they bring you on stage with them, figuratively speaking. And now you're part of their little show, you're part of their fantasy world. You don't even know it. And sometimes you buy into their fantasy world because they have all kinds of stories they invent. They concoct. They have a way of taking reality, embellishing it, and coming up with some really bizarre scenarios. And if you're not careful, you're into it. You ever wonder why people, intelligent, well-educated people, get involved in cults? It's because, they were love-bombed. And then they started to believe the fantasies. at the very beginning, it was just, they just felt good about it. Something about that movement, something about the cult, something about the group, something about an individual, a charismatic individual, made them feel good about themselves. And they liked that, so they went back for more. That's the same thing a narcissist does. Makes you feel good about yourselves, but it's just part of a fantasy. And the next thing you know, you're on stage with a narcissist, or you're in the narcissist one-person cult. Maybe there's more than one person, I don't know. But you need to understand and expose in your own mind, this was a fantasy. This is not real. What this person says about themselves, and some of the things are just outlandish that they come up with, just like a cult. They say some of the most bizarre things, like we're all going to be picked up in a flying saucer and taken away to planet Xenu or Zagu or whatever they make up these things. No, I don't think so. But once you get entangled at that, you start to believe the narcissist and it becomes your reality. But there comes a point also where we have cognitive dissonance, where their fantasy world and reality don't match. They just don't fit. And so we have to decide one or the other. And we can try to make them fit, and that's why people stay in cults, because, apologetics, they convince them that this is reality, and, every cult has apologetics. They all can explain why they're right and why their fantasy world is correct and everyone else is wrong. So does the narcissist. They are so good at explaining why this is such a big misunderstanding. But in your mind, you need to expose the fantasies. You need to understand there is this cognitive dissonance between what the narcissist is living and what is sane reality, and they are miles apart. Make that decision in your mind. That will hurt the narcissist forever because they lose control. It is that fantasy that keeps you in the cult, that keeps you in the narcissist cult. Number 7 is this. One way that you can hurt a narcissist forever and ever and ever, and again, the intention is not to hurt the narcissist. But if you just live a happy life, that's it, without the narcissist, that drives them nuts, because the narcissist is so narcissistic that he or she thinks you cannot be happy without them. In fact, they see themselves as kind of like just a ray of sunshine that comes into your life, and you are so you're so blessed to have them. You are so fortunate to have them in your life. And I've said this in other videos, so I'm going to repeat it one more time, but you got to keep in mind that sometimes a narcissist will punish people by avoiding them, because they think they are so fortunate to have them in their life that simply by staying away from them, they're somehow hurting that person. My response to that is, yeah, go ahead and hurt me. See how long you can stay away. Really, really punish me. Get as far away from me as you can. But just live and be happy. And again, the intention is not to hurt the narcissist, but just to do what's right. 2 rectangles on the screen. As always, if you will click on one of those 2 rectangles, our conversation just keeps on going. If not, thanks for stopping by, and we will see you all next time.